Sorry. Still not moving. Okay, so I think can you just sell yourself is the most important thing, and this is very important, right? I think a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of newbies, a lot of ideas, a lot of energy comes by yourself. Now, for example, Vasu, let me take an example. Right? Let's take Himanshu as an example. Himanshu says, "I am the guy who can teach you Adobe like nobody else can," and people look up to him. They don't care about Adobe. They don't care about what Flash is. In my office, the day this guy came to meet me, two of the guys who sit right next to the cabin like stood up, and they said, I could see them becoming a little uncomfortable, and I said, why? So I was wondering. We had a session. I think this was our first meeting. I didn't know you, right? This guy wore a jacket, and I don't know what the hell he was doing. Like, only fools wear jackets in Mumbai at 38 degrees and 99% humidity. But anyway, thankfully, he didn't wear it the next time. So when he left and we had a nice formal chat, this two guys said, Alok, that was Himanshu of Technopoint. I said, yeah. He says, we're learning Flash in his institution. What is he doing here? Now, he was the guy they referred to. The point I'm making is that if you can become someone's addiction, if you can become someone's reason to do something, this is the beginning of a reason to start yourself. Give you another example. There's a very interesting guy in Delhi called Manish Vij. He runs a company called Quasar. Anybody knows social? You all know Quasar. It's a very large company. This guy in 2004 came on a Rediff. He was the head of sales of Rediff, Delhi, and he understood that media planning on internet was not an easy task. People did not understand it, and it was about to come. I launched Media to Win with KK, and Manish Vij launched Quasar, and they actually met together and we said, shall we start a company? And we couldn't come to terms. That is a funny thing. And I regret that because I wish I had come to terms. Manish was bought by WPP after many years. The reason, this Manish guy, what he did in Delhi was very interesting. He knew all the buyers of media because he was a Rediff seller. But he was selling Rediff. And Rediff was at that time a premium brand. You could sell Rediff at your terms. What he went to them and told them is that, you know what, you should buy MSN, you should buy Yahoo, and you should buy Rediff, and you should little bit buy India Times. MSN was really, really innovating in terms of product. So they had page peels, they had shosh peels, and all that kind of crazy stuff happened, right? No one could understand that. This guy became the addiction. He would become people's blue-eyed boy to start doing media planning. So I remember this guy in Samsung who said, Alok, we have bought so-and-so sites. And I looked at the media plan and I said, whoa, this is like a really clever media plan. Because he knew things like, I'm just going to talk a little jargon because people in the room will talk, but he knew frequency capping. He knew, time of day serving. He knew that kind of stuff. So I said, Samsung, man, where the hell did you get all this one? He said, Alok, I told Manish Vij, come to my office, sit on my desk, open my laptop and write my media plan and I will buy it. He became an addiction, right? So I think there's one more. Yeah, one more. Now, when I presented this in Bombay, there was a little bit of uncomfortableness in the room because of the image. There's a dog, kutta. Let me tell you what I did. This may not like me. You guys may not like it. In 1998, I started looking at Contest to Win was my company, and I started reading and looking at ads on the internet, on the media, right? Who was selling what? And one company could always stand out, always stand out. That company was Hindustan Lever. At that time, just as a record, Hindustan Lever would spend 1 crore a day in advertising. That time, 365 crores was the ad budget. In my opinion, right now, they would be spending about 5 to 6 crores a day. 2,000 crores would be easily their advertising budget, easily. At that time, 1 crore a day was what we used to call lever. कि भैया 1 करोड़ रुपया दिन का खर्च होता है, औकात है तो लेकर आओ. So every, in Bombay media, we call them butterflies. The most beautiful women in Mumbai work for media and they all sit in Hindustan Lever's office. So if you really are bored one day, you should just go and sit in the Hindustan Lever office. Like, you'll be so delighted and dazed. Your year will be made, right? They're just beautiful creatures. They are beautiful. So they used to go there and I also landed up there. Now no one talked to me. No one looked at me. They said, an ugly Marwadi fellow, what the hell are you doing here, man? So eventually what I began to look at was what was happening. I was trying to talk to people and no one was listening to me. Yeah, they didn't care. So I made a policy. I would actually sit in the Hindustan Lever office on a sofa. And unfortunately, that time they were not that strict. They didn't have those ID tags. And यार वो चर्च गेट में ऑफिस था, खोल कर जाओ यार, बैठ जाओ, कोई पूछता नहीं था, वो चाय भी पिलाता था, वो आकर आपको चाय भी पिलाता था. Culture was like 1990s easy, man. So what began to happen was, when I would see brand managers go in and out of rooms of meetings, I would pounce on them. I would say, sir, I'm from Contest to Win and I want to do something for you. And that's how I got Lever, I got Close Up, Liril, Annapurna, and a couple of other guys on board. Literally sitting there. So one day, one guy asked me, he said, why do I see you here every day? Why? Who are you? And I said, I'm the dog in the Hindustan Lever corridor. And then I looked at me and he said, oh, what does that mean? I said, I'm the dog. And I'm here to look at the bones that I may collect when the doors open. And it was a point in my life where I was feeling egoless. So it was so painful to say that. And it was so humiliating in one way. And that night I went for dinner with my wife, and it was one of the worst days of my entrepreneurial career, and nothing was working. And we ate dinner at the Taj, right? So the point she made was that, Alok, why do you go through this? Why do you call yourself? And it became a phraseology. I think I should not have said it so much, that I'm the dog in the Hindustan. I told people in the interview also, that I'm the doggy in the corridor. So she said, I don't like it. It's not nice. And I said, you know what? I'm a dog in the night, and I'm a dog in the day and the king in the night. It doesn't matter. So it was funny that I use this metaphor, but I think if you can go down to that level, then I think there's a chance. It's very painful. And God forbid you ever need that, but I've seen people doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And if you see the greatest stories of them all, they all have come through a lot of pain. So, if you have to grovel, so be it. Sure.
So, when you were sitting in the Hindustan Lever office, obviously you did not get to catch hold of any of the managers on the first day, right?
Yes.
It must have taken a while.
Absolutely.
So, first of all, typically how long was that? Number one. Number two, did you feel that you were wasting your time? You didn't know whether it will ever happen, right? Did you feel that you were wasting? How did you have the patience to sit?
I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I knew that it took me 6 months to get my first deal. It took me 300 to 400 calls, blank calls, to get the first guy to meet me. And let me tell you what was happening, right? 1998, there were no Ask Me and there was no Just Dial. There were big fat directories that MTN used to publish, right? You can remember at home.
Yeah.
3. Bombay, there were 3 volumes. And one year we became 4. And the Shah surname was half a volume. The most number of people in Mumbai are Shah. So big. Out of the so big, the Shah was so much. You can't find a Shah in Bombay through the directory. Impossible. So, I'll give you an example of what I was saying, right? The cold calling part, since you asked. I started calling Britannia every day. And the number was a 412 number at that time. About 25 days later or some days later, the guy who was to answer was not very refined. I understood this is not Hindustan, this is not a Britannia number, a guy. There's something wrong. Because you call Colgate, you call Unilever, there's a freshness to the word, there's a style. So he asked me, he said, sir, what do you want? I said, I want to talk to the marketing manager. He said, sir, but Britannia is in Bangalore, they're not in Bombay. It took 20 days to figure that out. So I said, who are you? He said, I am actually the warehouse supervisor. You are calling the warehouse every day, and I'm wondering what you do. So I think when you don't have a definition of who you're trying to reach, you're at ground zero anyway. And then nothing matters. You're in the Sahara. Who cares if it's a mirage or not? It's something. So to be something is more important than nothing, right? I guess. Can I do it now? I don't think so. There's so much of ego, there's so much of baggage. But at that time, it was nobody.
So you talked about ego the second time. Everybody has an ego. It's not easy to give up ego.
Yes.
And that's the whole point of spirituality, of giving up ego.
Yes.
So when you're in business as a salesman, how much of ego do you carry and how much of ego do you
carry
give
zero,
up?
man. If you carry any ego, you're dead. And I think the challenge in entrepreneurship is